Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to talk a little bit about the decision between Venthyr and KYRIAN. So over the last couple of days, a whole bunch of top warriors have gone to Venthyr, um, and I don't even know if this is necessarily you know, we want to do this because this is BIS and it's optimal, rather than it's probably just something fun, something different. I think Warrior at the moment with Kyrian is very sort of scripted in a way, like it's very predictable, and there's a very certain playstyle you're kind of forced into with like just doing these big spear goes with Blade Storm. But I think Venthyr offers a lot in variety, right? That I guess a lot of the warriors who PvP mainly haven't had a chance to touch Night Fae or Venthyr at all, right? Unless they've got other warriors to play with. So what I want to do today is kind of break down the differences, discuss the Covenant choice, discuss sort of where I see it going a little bit, and then what you should do in your position, and I guess what comps kind of do the best based on the Covenant choice, right? So before that, I kind of want to talk about the leaderboards. Not that many warriors are actually Venthyr, right? So like I feel like there's a lot of people saying that oh every warrior is Venthyr now, every top warrior is Venthyr. Mag's Venthyr, right? And he even said I think on one of his streams that he just wanted to try something new, have fun, give it a go, smash people with a big execute, shadow dam executes, which is completely like the game's about having fun, right? So just pick stuff you enjoy. You don't always have to pick the optimal one, but obviously, the optimal one usually correlates to winning more games. Um, Smexon, who's top right now on the leaderboards, is Kyrian. Most of these guys are Kyrian. If we keep scrolling down, I think Bajira's Night Fae, and I versed him in twos once. He plays that really cool. He uses the ability in an interesting way, and I think there's a lot of things that you can do with Night Fae as well. My alt was Night Fae for I guess the first couple of weeks of the season, and it's really fun. I don't know if it was for me. I really like Kyrian, so I switched my alt from Venthyr originally to Night Fae to Kyrian. My like there's me here. I'm still Kyrian, and like there's just Venthyrs scattered around. What I expect to happen over the next week because of the AWC is a whole bunch of warriors are playing Venthyr in the AWC because you have max gear. So you might see more and more people swap over to Venthyr. I definitely think if we look at EU, I think it's probably maybe more Venthyr because I think EU tries different things here. There's more Venthyr definitely around the EU region as well. And it probably looks about like 70-30 on EU, and then maybe like, I don't know, like 10, 10 Venthyr, or like, if that, like 5 Venthyr for like the 50 ranks here. And then if we look at other leaderboards as well, I think China is like got a lot of Venthyrs as well, but I don't know if their leaderboards are like that legit. I don't know if these update, and then Korea, which is on here too. It seems like it's kind of dead here too. There's not many people that play on Korea, but you see a mix of everything there. So, talking about the abilities first. So, Kyrian, obviously, you get the spear. The spear is really, really fun. I think it's a really easy way to work out what your go is. Um, you charge something, you spear three targets, you blade storm, it does insane damage. You spear two targets, insane. You peel with the spear. It's a really versatile ability, right? You can almost do anything with it. Um, there is a skill cap element to it, right? So like you can miss the spear, and if you're not very good at landing the hardest spears to get, you will end up feeling. I'll make this full screen. You'll end up feeling the pain of the spear a bit more, right? Because you're only able to get like the kind of like stun into spear. Because I play with 200 MS mainly when I'm queuing my warrior, because most top players are American. Um, I find it really hard to get good spears, right? Like my spears usually are very like damage based. It's stun and then I spear off because I don't trust my MS to land insane spears. like that go across the map and lock down two targets. I've done them before, but they're inconsistent. The other thing to note is you get the file. Now, file is, I don't know if I would say it's underrated, but I think people kind of underestimate how useful it is, um, in terms of giving you a second heal, like a second defensive cooldown with File of Patience. So, like against RMPs, I've literally pre-filed to go, and if I do it early enough, I really just completely negate their go without using anything except ignore pain defensive stance. Um, so I think KYRIAN is really like versatile. I think it's really good in cleaves to run Spirit Bastion because it lines up really well with Windwalkers, it lines up really well with DKs, um, and even Kitty Cleave and stuff like this, where you have like lockdown, cleave from your off target, like from your cleave from your second DPS in threes, and it does a fair bit of damage as well, and it generates rage. So it makes your rotation easier, it makes it smoother, it lets you do huge burst, right? Now, if we look at the actual Soulbind abilities, so you have three options here. Realistically, there's two options. You either go for the double potency, or you go for the double. Oh, so you go for the finesse for the File of Patience and whatever you guys get in finesse, and you get the endurance, and you get a potency, and then probably an endurance, and then you get let go of your past. So let go of your past is really cool. It just essentially gives you 3% damage, magic damage reduction. A lot of things in the game are magic damage, so it's almost like having a base extra 6% versatility on magic damage without the damage component of versatility. If we look at Venthyr, right? Venthyr has Condemn. I think the really important thing, obviously, it's an execute you can use at 80, and if you're running Massacre, 0 to 35, and you get access to, I don't know if I can, you get access to Ashen Juggernaut, right? Which you probably have at realistically like eye level 200, and this increases the crit chance of condemn by 3.5. So when you're mashing condemn into a target, each one has a chance to crit higher, right? And it stacks 8 times. So that means that realistically, like if you're really pumping and you're doing insane damage, but they're spamming heals into a target, you can get your crit on condemn to like 26%. Very unlikely that you're actually going to get it to that point, but it might be something more like 15%. Um, so it deals shadow damage, which is I think the biggest aspect of this. It'll go straight through armor, which is massive, right? It'll go straight through armor and bop. And if you think about what the best healer in the game is right now, it's Holy Paladin, right? So Condemn is insane into Holy Paladin. Not only does it cut straight through their armor and let you do shadow damage to them, but it also goes through their bop and any damage, like any physical damage mitigation they have, like with their shield, right? It can't be blocked. Um, I think this and like the bottom component where it weakens the target, preventing some of the damage they deal on you. Like paladins do deal like a lot of random judgment damage and stuff like that. So swaps onto them, it could be decent. Realistically, I think the bottom element is more important in twos rather than threes. But still, really, really nice to have. Um, it synchronizes really well with Death Sentence, which gives you a charge as well on your condemn in like twos, so you can have 100% uptime, and it also just gives you an insane amount of burst, right? So you can charge in, double overpower Mortal Strike into like 3 condemns, and then they're in that range of whatever the range is between 80 and 35, and your off target, like your mage might combust, which gets them to 35, which lets you get condemns off again, right? The only thing is condemn uses a lot of rage, so like it's hard to necessarily get a really smooth rotation unless you're really used to it. So if you're a PvEer, this is something that might like favor you, is that you know when to use condemn and when not to use condemn because it's part of your PvE rotation. If you're a PvPer first moving into it, it might take a little bit of time to get used to it. So take that into note if you're doing a swap and you're trying to push Glad or something, right? The other thing is Door Shadows. I don't think this is too important. It's kind of nice if you want to like door someone's door as like, so like if a priest is dooring away from you, you can door at the same location. You can probably door shadows onto a healer to help your like DPS get CC. But we'll talk a bit more about door based on the soulbind you pick as well. So with the Kyrian soulbind, there's not really much option. It's always Pelagos. I've experimented with the other ones; they're really bad for warrior. So that's kind of the reasons for condemn. And the big thing with condemn is it scales massively with more haste and gear, right? So the more rage you get from your haste means that you get like more condemns per game, which means you do more damage, whereas spear sort of stays flat in terms of scaling. Um, Obviously, there isn't an easy number you can put on uptime, and spear does give you uptime, but condemn can also give you uptime with death sentence synergy as well. So, I guess the big things you're losing with Venthyr is a bit of survivability from the file and that ability to just lock down 3 targets and blade storm them, or lock down 2 targets in a cleave. And I can't tell you how many times I've speared 2 DPS when they're chasing my mage, and that's let us win the game because that distance is made and the mage gets a poly. So there's a lot of stuff where condemn I almost think is easier to mathematically like quantify how good it is. Whereas Kyrian Spear is very hard to like say, okay, I win 3 or 4% more games because of XYZ spear landing. It's super dependent on how you use it and when you use it, whereas Condemn is almost just flat increases in damage. I think Venthyr is really good, noting what I just said. In SP Warrior, I'd almost say SP Warrior, you do want Condemn almost every time you want to be Venthyr. It really gives you an insane amount of extra damage, which is what SP Warrior is about. I think any caster melee comp, I think in Warrior Mage, Condemn might be better. I'm really, I've got a Horde Warrior, so I exferred my alt Warrior to Horde, and I'm trying to go back to Venthyr, which takes 2 resets, and then we're gonna play and test out with my main team Warrior Mage, Paladin with Condemn, and I have seen a lot of WM Palas play Condemn because one, Spear breaks a lot of CC by accident, a lot of polys by accident, and two, Condemn syncs and synergizes really well with Combust, right? Usually the mage is combusting at about like that 70% health. He hits a target down to 35% health, which means you can Condemn again. So let's talk a bit about the soulbinds. Um, so you have Naja, Theotar, and General Draven. Naja gives you Thrill Seeker, which gives you every 2 seconds you get a stack of Thrill Seeker. At 40 seconds, you get a 20% haste buff. So that means, I guess, every 80 seconds, which is a minute and a half in, you will get Euphoria, which increases haste by 20%. The thing that's a bit awkward about that is that, so if you Colossal Smash at like the start of a game or something, or in the first 20 seconds, it might not ever line up with Thrill Seeker proccing. Same thing with Avatar. Um, it might just never line up with Thrill Seeker, but it's still a decent extra piece of damage there. Um, you get Agent of Chaos, which is a disorient, or you get extra speed. You want the potency conduit, so you'd probably get Agent of Chaos. You get another finesse conduit, which can be probably safeguard, right? Um, which is like this, right? Safeguard. And you get friends in low places. That's just a utility talent. You get an endurance conduit, and you get you'd probably pick the second um, potency conduit over really any of these. I don't think so. You definitely never pick this because this is just well fed. Um, this one might be good, right? You deal 3% more damage to them, they deal 1.5% less damage to you. So it's sort of like you get 3% versatility against the first target you damage, which is interesting, definitely somewhat decent. But you'll have to pick a second finesse. Sorry, yeah, second finesse, and there really isn't that many good finesses. Maybe the inspiring presence. I would say you'd want the double mortal combo, which gives you a reduction on snare and root effects, which is good. Theater. So this is the parasol thing. Uh, I don't think this is too crazy good. So you get 525 mastery where you have to stand somewhere, and it procs once per minute, which is okay. You get two Dora Shadows, or you get Dora Shadow frees you from roots and snares, which is interesting. Uh, this is utility. You get a endurance conduit, and you get to get a shield, um, a potion thing which you'd never use, and you get condemn single start of tea time, granting 6% of versatility to you for like 10 seconds, which I think looks okay. That looks pretty good. I wouldn't really run this though. It doesn't really look like the best tree. It doesn't give you much utility. Now, the one that everyone's talking about is General Draven. General Draven is obviously the one that gives you a lot of tankiness, right? So, Service and Stone, damage taken below 40% is reduced by 10%. Upon death, you leave a stone husk behind you which shatters after 3 seconds, inflicting 100% of your health in damage split among nearby enemies and healing for 100% of your maximum health split among nearby allies. So, I can see this being nerfed pretty quickly. Um, this seems kind of busted in PvP because 100% of your maximum health, if one person's on you, like, and just doesn't realize, 3 seconds isn't that long. It's kind of long, but it's not that long. You can get rooted next to it and get one shot, because that would mean 40k damage, right? And then it would heal everyone for 40k, or heal two people for 20k each. So I don't know. I'd be interested to see if that works in arena and what that looks like. Still haven't seen it yet. So time will tell. You get a safeguard. I'd probably pick the safeguard here. And Dora Shadows gives you a shield, which grants equal to 15% of your max health. This is okay. This is quite nice. I could see, if you're versing RMP and you Dora Shadows, you ignore pain, you distance, you're pretty tanky there, right? Obviously that. So this is the utility one. This is fine. And this is kind of where it gets interesting. So successfully interrupting an enemy gives you 10% crit. That's okay. While you're above 80% health, you gain 1% strength, staking up to 4 times. This is okay. This one is interesting, right? Standing still for at least 4 seconds grants you 10% increased stamina and 4% increased healing. So I think if you're kidney shot, right, for 5 seconds, that means that your stam will randomly shoot up and you'll get more healing done. I'd be interested to see which of these is best. You'd probably have to run the double potency conduit because it's just too good. Um, but this is quite nice. I would definitely consider that. If we look at KYRIAN, right, again, you know, it's a lot straightforward. You don't actually can't really even use these. I've tried Bron out today on stream, so if you want to look at that, Bron was awful. That feels awful in arena. Um, None of these are too good. I think this is really interesting. This is sort of interesting, and this is sort of interesting. But the rest of them, like this Bron dude, is just not it. This is not it. Pelagos, still insane. You get that 350 mastery on your go, which usually adds up to about 11-12% extra damage when you're got all your cooldowns, right? Which is obviously going to be insane. So, weighing them up, I would say if you are playing caster melee and you are looking for a change, or maybe you're already a PvEer, I'd pick Venthyr. If you're looking to play something more versatile, right, you maybe want to play more cleaves as well. I think generally KYRIAN's probably better. It's just a bit more versatile. It gives you a bit more tankiness. The combat meditation is still nice. Even with a nerf, it lasts longer. Uh, I really like KYRIAN still. I am interested in trying Venthyr because I think it'll scale up. So again, another thing is if you're a PvE, you're max geared, maybe you're 222, 220 eye level right now on release of this video, maybe Venthyr is a lot better for you because it scales more with haste. If you are under geared, I think it's still value to stick with KYRIAN just because you might not have the rage to fully get the value out of Condemn. Um, so I don't think the gap is as big as a lot of people make it out to be. Like, obviously, if someone picks Venthyr, they kind of get defensive of the fact they re-rolled Venthyr, and vice versa. KYRIAN people don't want to find out that after spending, 20 hours doing the campaign quests and all this other bullshit, they have to re-roll. And it's kind of what everyone expected with this system, right? Like, Covenant system leads itself to stuff like this happening, where gear changes the covenant you need to be in. I think generally, if you PV a little bit, staying in Venthyr is fine. It's really good. Um, if you're a Kyrian main and you like Kyrian, you like what the spear, you shouldn't feel pressured to go condemn. If condemn pulls far, like we're gonna see it in the tournament a lot, but I think we'll see a lot of people using spear. I think at the moment Venthyr is just interesting. It's new. Um, it's kind of what the issue with Covenants was to begin with, right? That XYZ streamer, and this isn't, any roast on any of the streamers, like they do a really good job of explaining a lot of stuff, but they'll say Venthyr is shit, Kyrian's the best, pick Kyrian if you want arena rating or something, right? Um, and then it'll end up being that, okay, after there's nerfs to Pelagos, now this new thing's good. So no one ever really experimented with Venthyr beforehand. It's just like everyone's like, oh, looking for a change now because we're sort of mid-season, I imagine. It's, I guess, the middle of January. It's been 6 weeks of the season. I imagine the season will probably last until March, start of March, slash middle end of March. So everyone's a bit bored, I think, of the season so far. We haven't seen any real balance changes yet, and the meta, I think, is pretty well solidified until tuning. So I think if you're kind of bored, you want something new, definitely just try Venthyr. Like, don't feel pressured. Something to note is if you go to Kyrian to Venthyr and then you try and go back to Kyrian, it takes 2 resets worth of weeklies. Take that into account if you really hate Venthyr. What I would recommend, higher CR, maybe more intermediate experienced warriors who have a lot more time, is probably just a reroll, boost to level 50 alt, and play the Covenant on the alt. And then if you really enjoy it on your alt, switch it over. And that's what I did with Venthyr at the start of the season. I didn't really enjoy using it, but I didn't really play too much arena before I swapped. So it could have actually been really good. Um, I just didn't really. I wanted to try Night Fae instead. It looked a lot cooler. Um, so I think those are your two choices. Some people ask about Night Fae. Night Fae is cool. Definitely try it out if you enjoy the lore, and the soul shape's really cool. It lets you reposition fast. I generally don't think it's that amazing in terms of the actual soul binds. This is okay. Your damage to targets above 75% health is increased by 10%. This is cool and it syncs up nicely with your Ancient Aftershock. Um, the Wild Hunt's charge is really good. This even the amount of movement speed. I don't know if that works in arena, but this seems pretty insane. And this is pretty cool too. Hold the line, damaging enemy before they damage you increases your. That's interesting too, and your spells and ability decrease it. Yeah, this is all interesting. Like, this is what I'm trying to say is don't feel pressured to pick a certain covenant or soulbind because of XYZ meta. Like, generally it seems to be like if you're a good player, you can sort of make any covenant work, except Necrolord as a warrior. Like this banner is really bad. 10% crit strike and 20% max health is just like this could literally be a 30-second cooldown, and that's the only time I could see people actually running it. But at the moment, this cooldown is awful because it doesn't even heal you for 20%, right? It just gives you like a rally for 20% with a 3-minute cooldown. Um, Maybe in some patches we'll see this go up in value because I do think um, some of this stuff is pretty cool. And like, what else do we have here? Like the haste, we have movement speed, um, fear. I mean, that's not that interesting, but yeah, the channeling fleshcraft while moving is cool. Um, and yeah, these are all pretty cool, right? Like all these covenant abilities are really really awesome. I wish like I want to picture in everyone's head like how awesome it would be if we could change these freely, right? Like I could just be a Necrolord for one session, I could be a Night Fae for the other, and a Venthyr for the other. You can make so many cool builds and conduits, and it just opens up like another level of like creativity that top players could do. But at the moment, like you can't even experiment with anything without it costing you like 2 weeks of re-rolling, or making an entirely different alt. So hopefully this video helped explain the differences. I kind of want you guys to make your own decision. I don't want to recommend anything because, to be honest, by the time I recommend this in 2 weeks' time, I'm sure it'll be different. So um, I think the AWC qualifiers are ending on Saturday or Sunday. So we're going to see a whole bunch of Warriors there. We're going to see a whole bunch of Warriors in the actual AWC Cup as well. And that's going to give us better clarity on what the top Warriors are running and how they're using it and where to do your covenant, change your covenant. If you're Venthyr or KYRIAN, being either isn't really going to affect your rating too much. Maybe you want to play different comps if you're Venthyr to if you're KYRIAN. But to be honest, and being 100% real, you guys, um, being KYRIAN or Venthyr is not stopping you from getting 2.4, 2.5, 2.6, and so on, right? Maybe it becomes an issue at 2.8, 2.9, 3, 3.1k CR, right? But for the majority of viewers, I don't think it's too relevant to worry too much about what covenant you are. Focus on your gameplay, focus on getting big damage out, focus on the principles of warrior, and you will do absolutely fine. You'll do way better than if you focus too much on this stuff. Obviously, try and get the best conduits you can and try and pick the BIS soulbind, but it's not a bigger deal as you think it is. All right, guys, that concludes the video. If you want to chat, if you want to ask any questions, you want to talk about stuff, um, join the Discord in the comments and follow the Twitch. Peace out.